You're taught to do this. Be ashamed of yourselves. You can't sit through a 35-minute movie that's serious, keep your mouth shut. You've got some growing up to do, guys. You know who you are. That was disrespectful. It shouldn't happen. Got some folks that came here for you, not for themselves. They're here for you. They went through a tough time in life, and they've come through it, and they want to share their story to help you. I just want to let you know, I had a student, went off to college several years ago, died in overdose. How do you think they're going to develop their friends? You should think about that, guys. That student here was a strong student. They got great grades. They were well liked. They had a job. They were active. They went off to college and they died. Just think about that.
Thank you. We're going to invite our speakers up to the stage now. We have Weiksnar, who is a local Carlisle resident, and since 2010 has been speaking to audiences like you about her family's experience with addiction and how addiction can really affect any family. We have two former high school students here, so Harrison Trailer and Alice Whitney. We're going to talk about their own experience with addiction and recovery. Police representatives, Detective Sergeant Mike Salisi from the Stow Police Department, and Student Resource Officer Casey Poole.
This movie, if only, and as Aaliyah mentioned, it is a Hollywood movie, but it was filmed in Tewksbury, and every single person in that funeral scene had a loved one who died from this opiate epidemic. And I was an extra in the funeral scene, and maybe you saw my picture at the end with a picture of my daughter, Amy. When she died, my nephews were here at this school. They were 14 and 16 years old. And as your teacher was just telling the story of his student, it sounded so much like what happened to her, and I'd just like to quickly recap the 6-year progression of her disease. So, Amy had a tough time in 9th grade. She became depressed and anxious and started using caffeine pills and sleeping pills and cutting. And she was thinking about using marijuana to fit in with the cool kids, so she told them she smoked, even though she didn't. And today, I'm wearing her sweatpants and her North Face jacket and her high school ring. In the summer between 9th and 10th grade, she decided she wanted to start smoking marijuana. And she left the world the gift of her journals, and I'm going to share just a little bit from them today, because nothing better than hearing in her own words. And that night she started smoking marijuana. She wrote, "We totally got away with it. Even if we had gotten caught, it'd still be worth it. Looking back on it, I'm happy I did weed. It's not going to be an addiction, but at least I can say I did it without lying. Also, now I won't be so obsessed with drugs because I've tried them, so I know how they are now. All right, well, I'll see ya. Love, Amy." Amy was caught showing up high at cross-country practice in September of her sophomore year. And she progressed as a sophomore to using cocaine, alcohol, and smoking marijuana laced with cocaine. During her junior year, I found a prescription pain pill, a Vicodin, in her purse, and I had no idea what a big red flag that was. The summer between junior and senior year, she went off to a summer biology research project, and she wrote when she was on an ecstasy trip. I still don't want to be like any of the ecstasy users I've ever met. I thought I could get away with just smoking pot in high school and controlling my curiosity for other stuff. But everywhere I go, I somehow find the drug crowd. Like, it's all coming clear now. What my parents were saying about pot being a gateway drug. What my therapist was saying about how careful I have to be if I experiment. Like, I honestly think I could be my yearnings for drugs and shit. When I went through my cutting stage, I used a razor blade religiously to get out my stress. The cuts weren't deep or anything, I just used it as a way to deal with frustration. Now I use drugs, and that's why I think I have a problem. So that's just what's happened in 2 years. As a senior, we weren't sure whether we should be looking for colleges or for treatment, but the professionals all reassured us, oh, your daughter's so bright, when she gets to college, she'll be fine, she'll have new friends, she'll be serious about her schoolwork. They didn't realize, and neither did we, how sick she already was, because addiction is a disease where your brain gets broken. It gets hijacked by the substances. And toward the end of her senior year, she wrote about where her disease had progressed. She said, it's so weird, because I remember going for a period of a couple months last year when I didn't do anything, just by chance, I think. But the difference between then and now is that last year it was so easy to stop everything. I don't think I even questioned my loyalty to the anti-substance thing. But this year it's been such a challenge for me to give up everything. Very interesting. Look how complicated these drugs have made my life. So we believe she first started using heroin when she was 17 by snorting. When she went to college, she started using the pain pill OxyContin, which quickly led to the cheaper and more available heroin. She had a bad news boyfriend who was 5 years older than her, who allegedly taught her how to inject. And it was when she was a junior in the nursing program at Boston College that she came to me and said, I'm a heroin addict, and she wanted to take a medical leave of absence to go to treatment. So this was Thanksgiving time of her junior year. She went to treatment, and 5 weeks later, she snuck drugs into the facility, and she overdosed. The facility did not have Narcan, the first aid for an overdose. An overdose is a medical emergency. You still need to call 911. And if you happen to know someone with a loved one in their house or who visits their house who is struggling with opiates, please become educated about Narcan, because that can be, it's not always, but it can be a life-saving drug. So I want to move on to the other speakers, but let me just say that you can see in that short progression how Amy's brain changed. The reason you are all so susceptible to substances is because your brains are changing very rapidly, and I encourage you to learn as much as you can about the neuroscience and why you are so vulnerable at this age. If you look at adults with addiction, half of them were already using by the time they were 15. And 90% were already using by the time they were 18. So if you can wait until age 21 or early 20s to even start using, chances are you will never develop a problem. And that's because of your developing brain. Scientists now know that your brain is developing well into your mid to late 20s. So you have some teachers here whose brains are still developing. And just because you can't see your brain doesn't mean you can't hurt it. But educate yourselves about the neuroscience, and please take these stories to heart. And I'll be around after for questions if you have any follow-up.
Thank you all for having us here. My name is Alex. I grew up in Lancaster and I graduated from Stow in 2005. I sat in the seat many times, and I have multiple friends who sat up there with me who are no longer here with us today because of addiction. It was something that really took grasp of my life, brought a lot of pain and suffering and turmoil to me and my family. When it started about 8th grade, when I started experimenting with certain things, I didn't really pay attention to what it was doing to me in terms of, giving up my hobbies, I stopped playing sports, I stopped playing a lot of things, stopped really putting effort in. here in school, and I did certain things to try to fit in because I thought I was kind of like an outcast. Even though I had a good group of friends, I had a lot of people in my corner. But coming into a high school with 2 other towns, it was something where I thought I had to prove my worth to everybody else. And what that looked like was, just kind of going nuts and doing a lot of things that took me away from the morals that my parents instilled in me. I progressed with my experimentation in drugs and alcohol throughout high school. I graduated, I went to college, and upon entering college, I had a new sense of freedom. I didn't have my parents over my shoulder all the time. I started experimenting more, and by the time I graduated, I was a daily user of opiates, cocaine, and alcohol. Somehow, like I said, I graduated. I moved back here to Massachusetts from Rhode Island. In the next 4 years, looked like homelessness, in and out of treatment, in and out of jail, losing people close to me, not being the role model I should have been to my younger brothers, who both went through the school and who both ended up having addiction problems. And it all stems back to my time spent here, where I didn't take a lot of things seriously. I took a lot of things for granted. I was the person who sat out here, who laughed, who joked, who didn't pay attention. And I probably missed a lot of important things that could have helped me, make better decisions as I was growing up. I don't put the blame for what happened to me on anybody else. That was my doing. But, I definitely did take certain things serious. And that's one of the biggest things I can emphasize to all of you out there is, this stuff's not a joke. I think, when I was growing up, I thought like going out and drinking on the weekends and smoking a little weed and stuff, that was completely normal. But this is what it can turn into if you're not aware of what you're doing, if you're not talking to people about it. One of the biggest things that I suffered from when I was in high school was like the fear of, not being who I thought I needed to be, to have friends, to make it in life. I kind of lost focus on what I wanted, and I kind of paid more attention to what I thought everybody else wanted to perceive in me, and what that led to was doing a lot of things for the wrong reasons. And like I said, that progressed. Like you saw in that movie, they talked about the progression, and that's exactly what it is. When I first started smoking weed and drinking alcohol, I didn't set out to become a junkie, an IV drug user, someone who committed crimes and went to jail. That was never a goal in my life, but that's what it turned into. I quickly lost focus. I stopped being present for my family and friends. Isolation took over, and that's all because I was afraid. I didn't talk to my friends, I didn't talk to my family about stuff when I was younger. I used drugs and alcohol as an escape when I wasn't feeling good, when I was uncomfortable, when I was fearful. That's one of the biggest things I can emphasize to all of you out there. This is a serious issue. This is something that, whether you're affected by it, a good friend, there's nothing wrong with approaching someone and speaking about it. The way I look at it is, you could be saving someone's life. Like I said, I've lost way too many friends, who I met growing up, who I went through high school with, and who I met, after I graduated from this disease. It doesn't pick and choose a certain category of people. Anybody can get affected. I've seen it, throughout my times in rehabs and treatment centers and jails. It's just a very difficult thing, but it's something that you guys need to be aware of. You need to be able to, approach someone and talk about it. Keeping it inside is the worst thing possible in my mind, because that's what drove me to continue to use. So I'd be flooded with these emotions and thoughts that I didn't want to deal with, and the best way for me to deal with those was to suppress them with alcohol and drugs. I'm going to end there. I'm going to let Harrison speak real quick.
Hey guys, I'm Harrison. I actually went to school here a little while ago, about 7 years ago. I graduated in 2010, and let me tell you, I'd probably be the last person anybody would want to be up here speaking. I think me and Mr. Cody actually never were on good terms.
We are now.
Yeah, we are now though. He didn't take my coffee this morning, so that was good. I know, right? So, guys, on a serious note, this is a big problem. I just want to state right off the bat that there was a name at the end of the movie. I don't know if any of you guys saw it. It was James Avitable. He actually had an older brother. His name was Pat. I got sober with Pat. And last year, a good friend of mine found him in the apartment. He'd OD'd, and it was 2 days before anybody knew. This disease does not discriminate. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter who's in your family. It's going to take all of us out if you got it. And it's only a matter of time. And for me, that was like a real hard concept to grasp because I thought, just like they said in the movie, like, I'm invincible. I was in high school. I was just partying. I was just doing whatever I wanted to do because I'm in high school. It's what kids do. But when I left high school and all that stuff still happened, like, you know, what's going on with me? I didn't know how to answer that. That's not normal, just like Alex said. That's not normal. It's not a normal way to live. In high school, it started off with, you know, just maybe smoking weed and drinking a little bit, and like, I used to do it to have a good time, and then I would do it when something bad would happen, to feel better. And then I realized I would just do it because I needed to be okay, to be human. And I didn't know any of this was happening inside me throughout my whole high school career, but like it was. And it wasn't until I left high school when I tried to stop it, I realized it was already too late. And I didn't know what the problem was. And what it came down to is I could grab these like small periods of sobriety for like a week or a month at a time, but what it always came back to is I didn't feel okay with myself at this point. I had this like huge gaping hole inside me that nothing could fill except for the booze and drugs, right? And that felt like this restlessness, this irritability, and this discontent with any situation and every situation. Didn't matter if I had everything in common with you standing in a room alone with you, I would still feel like I was the oddball out. And the only thing that made me feel better was the drugs and alcohol. And after a long time, I would do anything and everything to get it. It made my life completely unmanageable. I thought my life was okay while I was living in a car, being homeless, and not showering for 3 or 4 months at a time. I thought it was okay not talking to my parents and letting my mom find out if I was alive by having her check my text messages the following morning. This type of stuff didn't click with me. It didn't click. Like, that's not a normal way of living, but I couldn't see it because the drugs and alcohol made me so delusional to the fact that my life was completely unmanageable. Luckily, I'm here today. I was given an opportunity to go through a very structured program and learn how to cope with life on my terms. And even though I made it out, like I can't name all the people I've lost just this past year from this disease. And I do like the movie that was shown, and I'm not gonna trash talk it, but my experience was I didn't go to rehab once. I went to detox after detox. I went up and down the East Coast. I went down to Florida. I tried the geographical change. I tried changing the people I knew. What I found out is the common problem was inside me. And there's no harm in getting that out and trying to address it, guys. I really don't know what else to say. So, if you have any questions, please, I encourage you to come talk to me, talk to Alex, talk to anybody. We're all here for you, and you know, luckily we have some experience on that. So if you have any questions and you want to seek us out, please, I encourage it. Thank you.
I want to thank you guys very much. You know, obviously it's probably very difficult for them to be up here with their police officer after years of after being arrested by that person. But I grew up in Stow. Worked for the town in a law enforcement capacity for over 20 years now, and I've seen the town go from one drug to another, and this is one of the most hard-hit drug problems that we've had. I've seen family members steal from family members. I've seen people's lives ruined. I've seen parents not figure out what was going on until it's too late, which is really sad. We talked about Narcan earlier. As a police department, we are carrying Narcan because we are the first responders. We are the first on the scene. I've done CPR numerous times on people. We've used Narcan. It's worked, and it hasn't worked. We've lost Stow residents. It has happened. But we also have some good stories that come out of it too, for such a bad situation. And there's always help. If you know someone that needs help and they won't get it, you can always talk to the police department. That's one avenue. Or if you know one of us, because we try to be tight with the community, we can always get help. We're not always about arresting everybody, especially with this disease. It's about getting them help. It's about survival. It's about getting them on a path that is drug-free. And that's a long, long road. And I've seen people succeed and I've seen people fail over and over and over again. So I can totally appreciate their stories and what they've told you today. It does hurt a lot of people. It's not just the individual that is that's using. It's everyone around them. It's the community. It puts people in fear. It's the neighbors, because everyone thinks that there's more crime out there that's going to affect them. So if you know someone that needs help, reach out to a teacher, police officer, anybody, and we can definitely get that help to that person. I had a person that I was interacting with, and I offered them a handout. I said, listen, we can help you. And they took me up on it, and it just happened a few months ago, and I'm really still happy because that person's alive, and they were on a road that they were going to end up dead, and I knew that they were going to end up dead. And I was able to help one person. Sometimes as police officers, we have to arrest over drug stuff, but the way I look at it is if I'm arresting you, I get to keep you alive for another day. And that's, I don't like doing CPR. It's not fun. So I'd like to get to people before that last effort. So thank you.
All right, so very quickly, a lot of you guys know me. I'm Officer Casey Hool. I'm your school resource officer. I'm very passionate about this because, one, I'm a drug recognition expert, so I tend to see people, I get called out at all hours of the night to deal with car accidents, to deal with people driving under the influence of drugs. And it's very, very, very sad. And I don't ever want to have to deal with any of you guys in that capacity. Like Secretary said, Bolton carries Narcan in our cruisers. I've done CPR, I've administered Narcan myself, and I've seen it work, I've seen it not work. I've done CPR to try to bring people back, and I've also had to make a death notification to a parent who actually she refused to come to the door because she saw 2 police cruisers out in front of her house at 7 in the morning, and she didn't see her car in the driveway and her son wasn't home. He, again, was a Stow graduate. The pain that I saw on her face is something that I hope that nobody's parent will ever have to see. Talk to your resource, talk to your teachers, talk to administration. You guys have excellent counselors here. Use those counselors. Get help. If you know somebody that needs help, don't be afraid to talk to people about it, all right? And I'm just going to leave it at that.
We have a couple of
I would echo what everyone else has said. You've got a lot of adults in this building who care about you. You've got a lot of adults outside of this building who care about you. If you're experiencing challenges, if you're using, reach out to an adult for help. If you have a friend who has challenges, if you have a friend who's using, reach out to an adult to help. We've only got about 7 or 8 minutes, and so I want to make sure there's an opportunity for people to ask questions. I'm not sure how we're going to do this. Do we want them to just open it up to them to ask questions?
We have a couple of questions that came from the homerooms, but if anybody here wants to go first and ask.
So we start here. There's somebody here who has a question. Any member, don't ask me. You can ask me anytime. But some of our panelists who are up here, if you have a question, feel free to ask the question. There always needs to be one brave person who asks the first question. Right up here. I like it.
How do you feel now that you're not doing drugs anymore?
Which, the black or the gray?
Both.
My quality of life is undescribable now. I was taught ways to cope with life on life's terms like I've never heard before. And I can't tell you how it's hard to describe, man, because it's like being reborn after, it's like dying and being reborn. I'm a completely new person. The only thing that's the same is maybe some facial features. And my hair is, I usually style my hair the same way every day, so that's about it. But like realistically,
The smile's the same.
yeah, it's still a big smile. But like I'm beyond happy. I've been like rocketed into this 4th dimension of life that nobody can really describe. Believe it or not.
Exactly what he said. I lived a life that 4 years ago I didn't think was possible. I truly didn't think so. I was used to not showering, not eating, stealing from people, robbing, and in the past 4 years, I've moved far up in life. Whether that's my job, relationships with families and friends. I'm almost 30 years old, and I finally have a savings account. And that's kind of funny, but at the same time, it's kind of depressing. It took me that long to get my stuff together, and that's just the seriousness of it.
Yeah. Oh, before you, honey, I'm just going to ask one from upstairs. How do you feel communities and individuals can combat the stigma surrounding addiction as a disease?
So I'm going to hand the mic over to the police officers as well, but I'll just quickly say things like this. We have to come together. Last night, everyone who's on this panel was here for a community presentation, so parents were invited, community members were invited. I've been the principal here for 5 years. There's no silver bullet for trying to figure this out. We have to keep caring about you every day. We have to keep trying to educate you every day, even when you push us away, even when you say, that's stupid, I don't want to do that, I don't want to listen to you. We have to keep trying, keep trying, keep trying, keep trying.
So for the stigma of a user, there's a lot of police officers out there, and they change. There's a lot of different ages. We have young police officers in their 20s, and we have some out in their 60s. When I first started, I thought, the way to solve a problem is to arrest everybody, and this is not a problem you can arrest your way out of. So what we need to do is what we have done is we've changed our culture, and instead of while we're still law enforcement, we try to get people help. We try to use the tools that we have, the resources that we have, the resources that we've seen here at the school, and we don't necessarily arrest. We want people to call us for help. We've changed the law. It's no longer if you're around somebody that has drugs on or that is in need of help and call for help, that you would get in trouble. You won't get in trouble. It's a good Samaritan. You call us, we just help the person that's there that needs it. And obviously, if you're in that situation, we're going to offer you some help too, and then you'll be on your way. So we've been educated ourselves as police officers. We go through lots of training. We're just changing the way that we think, and we're approaching this epidemic.
Young lady in the purple that had her hand up?
Did any of the teachers or the parents ever notice that something was wrong and try to get help?
I would say my parents, most definitely. And they offered assistance, they gave me suggestions. I wasn't willing to take them. And what that turned into after college, because this went on for years, was my parents changing the locks on the house. As awful as this sounds, I put my mother through so much turmoil and pain, and I gave my family such a bad reputation. My mother had to move because the thing we were known for in our neighborhood was having the police come by. They gave me plenty of opportunities to get help. It took my willingness to get there, and I wasted a lot of years of her trying to do that. I wasn't as progressed in high school to where the teachers had to pull me aside and say anything. It was definitely more so in college.
I just want to say that there's actually a few teachers here today that I used to rely on. One being Ms. Donchemont. A lot of the teachers here are still willing to put their neck out for us, and they're willing to help us through our problems, and that's what my experience was. So don't be shy to talk to your teachers or the police department for that matter. Mike, he's a good guy. And same with the Lancaster Police Department. There's a bunch of people in the Lancaster Police. Yeah, you're a real good guy. The Lancaster Police Department is actually...
Well, we have her here every day now, so.
I actually still keep in contact with a lot of other people from the Lancaster Police Department because they're the ones who made the most difference when it came down to it.
Any other questions down here? Oh, okay.
So how do you deal with stress? What do you do next?
That's a good question.
I mean, this might sound pretty cliche, but what I've learned is the easiest way for me to deal with those kind of things is I just have to accept it for what it is and just keep pushing forward. I know that sounds really cliche, but it's actually that simple. I found out things are going to happen to all of us that we don't want to happen to us. And the only thing we can do to make those things better is to accept them and keep moving forward. That's why I was stuck in the grips of addiction for so long, because I wouldn't accept those things. And when I didn't accept those things, if they bothered me, I used drugs and alcohol to suppress that.
Any other questions down here?
We got one more back here.
Okay.
How long does it take you to stop?
How long did it take you to stop?
How long does it take to stop?
No, you, how long did it take you to stop? Either of
How
you.
long did it take you to stop?
So like I said, I started dabbling in about 8th grade, so how old was I then? 12 or whatever.
Yeah,
I did not put the drinks and the drugs down until I was 26 years old. And all of my 20s, I was basically a daily user unless I was in treatment or in jail. So years.
Yeah, my experience is about 10 years. And I don't believe that there's one rock bottom to hit. I mean, I hit numerous rock bottoms. I went to a bunch of different treatment programs, and it wasn't by my own will. It got to a point where I didn't have anywhere else to go. I was hungry, I hadn't eaten in 3 days, and like all this stuff was going on. The only option was to go to treatment, and I still didn't want to stop. So there's really, that time frame is going to be different for everybody, but the ultimate reality is you're going to die from it if it affects you, and that was my truth. And it took me a very long time to realize that, and I'm lucky enough to be sitting in front of all you guys today.
One criticism of the movie is that they make the treatment scene look so easy. And by the way, the treatment facility was filmed in the same place where my daughter had her senior prom. But finding treatment is not always easy. Finding the right treatment is not always easy, but keep at it and don't lose hope. I mean, it finally took someone who was in long-term recovery from opiate addiction to help my daughter and us see how sick she really was. Some of the counselors just didn't get through to us. So don't lose hope. Keep finding someone who you're going to really connect with who's the right fit, because it's different for different people at different times.
So I want to thank Leah for being here today, helping to lead all of this. I want to thank everyone on the panel for being here. All of you for your attention. So at this time, I want the people in the back, we're going to be going out the back door, people in the front. Do we have room in the front?
No.
Let's have everybody go out that door. When you see your class, be safe.